Hey everyone, it's Brett from Hope to Prosper. Now, up here in the hills with my wife Maria, and we're going to go on a little walk. We're both kind of beat up, so it's just kind of like a rehab hike. So anyways, thanks for coming along. Today's subject is the Harvard Happiness Study, so I hope you get something out of it. Thanks a bunch. I want to talk today a little bit about what makes people happy. I think it's a pretty important subject, at least it is to me. So the longest study ever conducted on human happiness started way back in 1938, about 85 years ago. And this is called the Harvard Study of Adult Development. And it continues on to this day. It's been going on for 85 years. And now it's under the fourth caretaker, Dr. Robert Waldinger. And he has made a bunch of TED Talks and other things about it, written a book. So I just wanted to talk about this study. I think it's pivotal, and I think it's important for everybody. And believe it or not, it's also really important for retirees. There's a lot of this that has to do with aging that I think is important to people. So this study started out with 724 men, and about 40% of them were from Harvard, and the other 60% of them were from like the poorest neighborhoods in Boston, people who didn't even have running water and stuff. And so they wanted to see if there was a difference between, people who were of means and people who weren't. And surprisingly, they weren't. So they started out with these 724 men, and they continued on with their 1,300 descendants of the original participants. And these were both men and women. So they kind of broadened the study as time went on. There's no other study on happiness, or almost any other subject for that matter, that has spanned generations like this Harvard study. So it's quite pivotal. So the reasons I wanted to talk about happiness, it's kind of personal, but I've always been a pretty happy person, happy-go-lucky, feeling good, always positive, and I really haven't ever spent a lot of time trying to understand why. To be honest, I just kind of figured I'm that way. I take it for granted. But the study shows that that's not true at all. If you want to be a happy person and live a happy life, you kind of have to be proactive about your happiness. The good news is up to 40% of your happiness comes from choices that you can make. And so it's broken down like this. So about 50% comes from genetic factors, 10% comes from life circumstances, and the remaining 40% can be changed. And that kind of surprised me. First of all, I didn't think the 50% genetic factors was that high. Maybe I am fortunate just to be happy and lucky. And I thought the 10% from life circumstances would be much bigger, but evidently not. Like they found from the studies, the people from the poorest neighborhoods weren't necessarily the least happiest. So that surprises me. So let's talk about social fitness, right? The overwhelming number one finding of this study for 85 years is that relationships and social connections they're the single most important factor for human happiness. Way more than any other factor. Way more. And not only does social fitness make people happier, it makes them healthier and live longer, which is another surprising thing. People who were the happiest in their relationships at age 80 in the study were also the healthiest by age 8. I'm sorry. People who were the happiest in their relationships at age 50 were also the healthiest at age 80. So they were able to look through the study and find out how these people were affected by their relationships. Now, I've always known instinctively that people in relationships make me happy, but I never knew how much it could improve my health and longevity. And so that's a good clue for you guys, too. Something that's important for you to know. So, by the way, I just wanted to say thank you to all my new subscribers and welcome to my channel. And I know I've been gone for 2 weeks. This particular video took a lot of time and research, so I'm a little late with it, but I hope you enjoy it and I hope it's worth it. My name is Brett, and this channel, Hope to Prosper, it's about early retirement skills and adventure. So I hope you get something out of this. So here's a really eye-opening thing. What doesn't work for happiness, right? One of the big lies we're all told is that money, status, power, fame, high achievement, these things are going to bring us happiness into our lives. And this study has proven that completely false. In fact, the study shows that once a person goes beyond financial security, it used to be, $75,000, but I would say maybe it's 150 now. But once you get there where you can pay all your bills and have a nice life, there's very little happiness or incremental happiness that comes from having more wealth. In fact, you could even add zeros to that, and it really doesn't move the needle that much on your happiness. And that's a big surprise to a lot of people that think, hey, I'm going to go out there for these goals and these dreams, and it's going to come and it's all going to be good. And in reality, it really isn't. It doesn't make you happy. Another thing is all the consumerism we're sold, the new cars and the new phones and the iPads and all the stuff. It has a very short dopamine hit, and then you're back to normal. So it has very little long-term. Consumerism has very little long-term benefit to you. So if you're out there gunning for that big promotion, you're saving up for that big house or the fancy car, you may want to just spend more time with your friends and family and be more present in their lives. That'll have a much bigger benefit to you. So let's talk about marriage as a factor, right? Most people realize that married people live longer and are generally happier than single people. Certain people would disagree with that, and I think, some people's marriages aren't happy, but in general, and some people who are single are happy, but in general, it's well known that married people live longer and they have happier lives. And in fact, it's a lot, right? So this study found that married women live an average of 5 to 7 years longer, and married men live an average of 7 to 17 years longer. It's been said because men who aren't single do less stupid things. But anyways, that's like almost 10% of your life. That's a lot. And so what they found in this study is that having a partner for support and to share ideas with, and it reduces stress and it offers comfort and resilience. And another interesting fact is that when people are happiest when they're first married, and that's no surprise, they call it the honeymoon phase. And then their satisfaction goes down significantly when they have children, and it increases again when the children move out. And the study even went on to say that that if children move back in, that it decreases again and then goes back up when they move out again. So I won't comment on that for my own boomerang children, but I can say definitely it's a stressful thing. So let's talk about loneliness is dangerous. I'm not overstating this threat. Loneliness is a major threat to a person's health and longevity. And by the way, being single doesn't mean that necessarily you're lonely, but up to 20% of the people are lonely. They say they're lonely. And, over 26% of Americans who are seniors are living alone, which is the second highest in the world. So that's kind of crazy. But being alone most of the time, it's according to the study, it's as dangerous as smoking a half pack of cigarettes a day or being obese. Or having high blood pressure or diabetes. I've also read that being alone can double your chances of developing dementia. So those are some pretty big risk factors. And so there are much higher levels of stress from having nobody to talk to and bounce things off, having no one to back you up. And also naturally, we're pack animals like dogs or whatever. Some people feel unsafe when they're alone, and this contributes to the stress. Let's talk about some other tips from the study. Right? So, number one, know when to let go. As people get older, they get focused on the things that are more important to them, and they let the other less important things go by. And they don't allow many of the things that used to bother them when they're younger to bother them now that they're older. And this is something I highly recommend myself. I've learned to let go since I've retired, and man, it's wonderful. So people become happier as their age, and I was aware of this. So starting around middle age, participants become more positive. They're more selective about how they spend their time. They save their time, and they're more present in the moment. They just sense they had less time to waste, I imagine. And, they're happier, and they have a lot less stresses of midlife, raising children and buying houses and all that stuff as well. So people become happier as they age. That's important. Here's another tip. Stay connected. Personal connections create mental stimulation, social interaction, and they improve the mood of both parties who are talking to each other. So the most valuable thing you can give someone is your time and attention. Calling or contacting someone, that's an act of friendship. You might need to be the one that takes the initiative to stay connected with your friends and don't let them fall out of friendship or contact. Avoid regret. This is talked about quite a bit in these circles, but when study participants reached the age of 80, they were asked about, what would they have done differently with their lives? And of course, men wish they hadn't spent as much time at work, and women wish they hadn't worried about what other people thought about them. And these are really common regrets, and so something to be aware of and to avoid if possible. One final tip is to try volunteering. For anyone who needs to broaden their social life, the Harvard study recommends volunteering. And not only will you serve a valuable purpose with your life, but you'll meet like-minded people to interact and socialize with and, work towards a common goal. Okay, so let's wrap it up. So in conclusion, one of the most important observations from this study is that people can find great new friends even if they haven't had good luck with friends in the past. This is surprising to me. I always kind of thought some people were loners and some people were social butterflies, and that's kind of true, but it's not cast in stone. People can change, and people can find new friends from all kinds of things: sports, groups and meetings, activities, church and faith-based activities, all kinds of stuff. So if you have a dearth of friends and you need social interaction to improve your life and your health, for sure. Be proactive. Start seeking out new friends. Start looking at ways to connect with people that you can identify and feel good with. You can help develop new relationships in anyone's lives. Social fitness, like physical fitness, it can be practiced and improved for a better result. It just takes time and effort to think about others, and you may need to reach out to connect with. Okay, everyone, thanks for coming along. We appreciate you. We wish you all health, happiness, and prosperity in your lives, and we'll see you next week on our next big adventure.